So the newest Helluva Boss episode came out. Sitting at 21 minutes long, this episode immediately hit #1 trending on YouTube. It's probably the most divisive one so far. I personally enjoyed the episode, however I think there's a couple flaws with the episode that held it back from being a masterpiece. In this video, I'll firstly discuss the plot, and then move on to talk about the things I liked and disliked about the episode. Lastly, I'll give some final thoughts for the future, and things I'd like to see in the rest of the series. The episode starts off with a similar intro to episode 2. We see a cute scene between Owlet Octavia and Stolas. He promises Octavia that he'll take her to see the stars one day, which sets up the plot for the rest of the episode. Stolas is too busy arguing with Stella to talk to Octavia, and knowing that the day is ruined, Octavia takes matters into her own hands and heads over to IMP to steal the grimoire. Once IMP discover the grimoire is missing, Stolas shows up and the group head to LA to find her. We get to see Stolas' human disguise for the first time, and the party go about finding Octavia. Moxie and Millie get separated and sing the first song of the episode, called Till the Day We Die. Blitz gets mistaken for Brandon Rogers and gets swarmed by humans. Him and Stolas then get taken to a recording studio. While this is happening, Luna is searching for Octavia. While Luna is searching, we hear the second song of the episode called I Like It. The story pans back to Stolas and Blitz, where we get a short flashback sequence where we see Blitz meeting Luna for the first time at the adoption center. Blitz snaps back to reality and fights with the humans. Stolas throws a bottle and the entire place erupts into flames. We then go back to Luna, who has found Octavia by herself, and we get an emotional first meeting of the two characters. The cast finally meets together as fireworks go off. Moxie and Millie were busy looting the entire episode, and they return home through the portal. That's the episode. So now with the plot summary out of the way, it's time to talk about some of the good things about the episode. The first thing I liked was human Stolas. His design looks wonderful and all of his scenes were really funny. I loved the Stolitz moments where we see him blush, especially the one where he's in the crowd and it's a clear reference to episode 1 of season 2. This episode features a heavy emphasis on Luna, which is another positive. The last time we saw her was in episode 7 of season 1, so it's been quite a while. There's been a lot of videos and discussion around Luna as a character, with people saying she's toxic. I definitely don't agree with this opinion, and this episode helped flesh out her backstory more. Her adoption scene was especially heartbreaking. It showed us how she's been through a rough time, and it's why her personality is a bit rough around the edges. The Brandon Rogers references played a pretty important role in the episode, and I enjoyed some of the jokes, especially when he was dragged into the studio by a horde of humans. There's a number of other fun references throughout. The dairy reference was neat, along with the one earlier on where Moxie was hit by the door. Since the entire episode is based in LA and Hollywood, most of the humour is centred around that. Like when IMP spawn into LA and you immediately hear gunshots and Blitz says it doesn't look much different from hell. The CD peddlers were also quite realistic and funny. There was some violence throughout the episode as well. There wasn't as much as episode 6, but there was some good kills. I especially loved the stage scene where Stolas threw the bottle and the lights went out and suddenly the place looks like a scene from Doom. I also have to mention that my favourite part of the episode was when Luna met Octavia for the first time. Seeing the two characters with similar personalities talk and hang out was heartwarming to see, and one of the standout moments out of season 2 so far. This entire episode also helped to flesh out Octavia's personality more, especially since the last time she played a major role in an episode was episode 2 of season 1. So that was all of the good things I had to say about the episode. I did like the episode, but if you've read the title, you're probably aware that I think there are some flaws with the episode. In the next section, I'm going to discuss all of the problems with this episode. Some of these are things I personally noticed, and others are issues that I saw brought up a lot on Reddit and on Discord. So the first major issue that was in the back of my head the entire episode was the inconsistent animation. You can visibly tell during some scenes where different animators did different scenes. In every other episode of the show, I haven't been able to notice this. All the other episodes were animated consistently and conformed to Vivzi's style. This episode was the odd one out, and I'm not sure why. You could potentially put forward the idea that maybe the episode had a troubled development. Vivzi has been hiring new animators lately, but she does that all the time anyway, so you can't really use that as any evidence. Again, I'm not sure how to describe this, but I've seen tons of other people mention it as well, so I know I'm not alone. Some of the scenes are animated weirdly, like the scene where Luna and Blitz transform. It reminds me of the Rocky Raccoon guy on YouTube who does those TikTok dance animations with characters from the show. Some other scenes are missing shadows or the perspective looks off, and it just takes me out of the show completely. It's a real shame as well, because some of the scenes are gorgeous, but in other sequences it just looks a bit half-baked. The next major problem is the pacing issues throughout the episode. The overall pace of the episode was too fast, and it felt like if you blinked, you'd miss it. I can see what they were trying to do by interweaving the different character arcs and showing everyone off at the same time, but the constant cutting between characters causes you to lose interest in the clips, making each moment feel watered down, and as a result, it's a lot worse than if they kept the episode focused on less characters. Things that should be expanded upon are very short, and things that should be short are too long. I feel like the episode maybe should have been split over 2 episodes. One could have focused on Octavia and Luna's LA experiences and the hunt for her. The other episode would have went over Stolas and Blitz, and the Millie and Moxie plotline could have been moved to that episode instead to break up the heaviness. Another issue with the episode was Moxie and Millie. They didn't really do much and felt kind of pointless. Their song also came out of nowhere and didn't add much substance to the story. Their song, titled Till the Day We Die, was decent, but we've already had 2 duets from them in episode 1 and episode 7. This song felt too similar to those 2. Like I mentioned earlier, if the episode was split into 2 parts, it would have given the pair more time to shine, rather than in this episode where they were brushed to the side and had no relevance throughout. The episode had some really funny jokes, but some of them felt a bit low effort and shoved in. Like the annoying people on the street and CD peddlers were funny at first, but outlived their welcome fast. While watching these scenes, it reminded me of Smiling Friends, who did the joke much better. In that show, they articulated how shitty the towns were with characters like DJ Spit. The influencer jokes got old fast as well. They were a bit too on the nose throughout, and I feel like it's a bit of wasted potential. There's so many better references you can make in Hell, but instead they're in the human world talking about reality TV shows. I personally didn't find much of a problem with the Brandon Rogers references, but I saw some people voicing concern over it. The main idea is that it's basically a self-insert, and the joke goes on far too long. I personally enjoyed the jokes since I love Brandon's humour, but I can understand why some people felt the joke went on far too long. One issue I mentioned briefly earlier was the songs in the episode. Moxie and Millie's song was decent, but like I said, it came out of nowhere and didn't really fit with the episode. The other song was I Like It, and it plays while Luna is looking for Octavia. This song is alright, but it just feels like a bit of a background track. It reminds me of The World Is Burning Down Around Me, that played in episode 2. The songs aren't bad in this episode, but I feel like if someone like Octavia or Luna sung an emotional song, it would have set the scene much better. All of the best episodes have a standout song. Episode 7 has House of Osmodeus, Episode 2 has You Will Be Okay, and Season 2 Episode 1 has Stolas Sings. This episode doesn't really have one. This issue I've seen around a lot, and I'm starting to agree with it now too. There's a common idea that the characters in the show aren't learning anything. One example being that the Vrosika episode was a season ago, and Blitz, Moxie and Millie still don't have any human disguises. Seeing Blitz get dressed up is funny, don't get me wrong, but it hasn't been answered on why the group don't have disguises, despite it being important for them to travel to and from the human world regularly. Another problem was the Luna adoption scene. It was really heartwarming, however there was no build-up. It came out of nowhere and it ended abruptly. If they had let the entire scene play out, it would have been an emotional moment of character development for both Luna and Blitz. At the end of the episode, Luna reverts back to her old self and kicks Blitz again. It basically just reverts all the progress made during the episode. I found it hilarious that she gave this speech to Octavia about how hard Stolas tries and how trying is important, and then proceeds to kick Blitzo in the fucking nuts for loving and caring about her. Another issue was that there was a strong emphasis on Stolitz. I do like Stolitz, however out of the 9 episodes so far, 7 of them have had heavy Stolitz elements. There's a wonderful video by my friend Iox who discusses this topic more in depth, so I'll have that linked below if you're interested. This one is a personal one of mine, but I feel like the part where Instagram is used was a missed opportunity. We get to see the in-universe equivalent of Instagram during the episode, and Luna uses it to locate Octavia. If you're not aware, the show used to have official Instagram accounts ran by members of the team. I have an entire video that discusses the history and why they were shut down, which I will have linked below. If the accounts were still running, it would have been cool for the Octavia account to post some of the images prior to the episode's release. It would have provided the community with some fun early sneak peeks of the episode, and it would have allowed everyone to do more theorizing. I know the accounts were shut down for a reason, but it just feels like a huge missed opportunity. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Season 2 Episode 2 of Helluva Boss. I liked the episode, but I feel like there were some core issues that dragged it down. It's a real shame too, because I think the episode could have been the best one so far if they were resolved. I hope in the future the team slows it down and puts a bit more polish on certain aspects. I am quite happy that there's not going to be any more of those fake, coloured in sneak peeks that people used to upload over and over again on YouTube. If you have any thoughts on the episode, or on anything I said, feel free to leave them down below and I'll respond to a few. I'll also have a link to my Discord server down below if you're not in it already. Special thanks to Iox for helping with the video. Thanks for watching.